All right, to Fox News Alert, President Trump is back in Washington after cutting his time at the G7 summit in Canada short. The commander-in-chief saying he has not reached out to Iran for peace talks.
Meanwhile, more than 300,000 Iranians being warned to evacuate Tehran, the capital, as Israel's Operation Rising Lion intensifies, striking dozens of targets overnight.
We have live team coverage. Mark Meredith is at the White House tracking the administration's response. But first, we go to Mike Tobin. He is live in Israel and Tel Aviv as the Israelis assess damage from Iranian missile strikes to military and civilian targets. Hey, Mike.
Hi there, Ainsley. The Iranian missile barrages are part of every day and night. An Israeli military spokesman now says some 400 Iranian missiles have been fired at Israel. What we saw in the overnight hours, however, was instead of the usual hundreds of missiles coming at Israel, what we have seen since the start of Operation Rising Lion, about 20 came last night. 4 missiles got through, hitting in the town of Herzliya, which is just north of Tel Aviv. One of them set a bus on fire in a parking lot. Another set a structure on fire, but no injuries reported thus far. Meantime, an Israeli official says the IDF is not done hitting targets inside Iran. Yesterday, the Iranian state TV building was burning after it was hit by an Israeli strike, a hit that happened while they were live on the air. Israel also says Iran's wartime chief of staff was killed. Ali Shadmani was his name. He was the most senior military commander closest to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. But he only had the job for 4 days. He was appointed after his predecessor was killed in the early days of Operation Rising Lion.
We still do not know who will be the substitute's replacement. I would advise anyone who is offered the position to consider carefully. If he agrees to take it, he is advised to be extremely cautious.
And that same Israeli military official says that 10 Iranian scientists essential to Iran's nuclear program have been killed since the start of the operation. Ainsley?
Right. Mike, you showed the video of the Iranian state TV, and we saw that blast while the lady was anchoring. She was speaking Farsi during that explosion. And I was told that a man off camera was saying Allah Akbar. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, says the TV station was not a legitimate news outlet, but a tool of the totalitarian regime. Was the lady that we saw, was she the one that was killed? I know a lady did die.
Well, I know that woman who you see on TV there has now popped up on billboards all across Tehran. She is being hailed as a hero. We only know through Iranian TV that one woman was said to have been killed. But if you look at the woman who was in that video, she doesn't appear to be hit by anything in the initial phases of the strike, just frightened very badly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And lastly, have you heard any credible reports of stirring on the streets against the Ayatollah regime?
No credible reports. What I'm hearing coming out of Tehran right now are just reports that people are very afraid, and they also don't have international reporters inside of Tehran, so they feel very isolated. They don't feel that they have anyone to run to, but they're extremely fearful at this point, Brian.
Right. Thanks so much, Mike.
Did you have a question?
All good, Mike. Appreciate it. I just want to point to something that the administration, they're going on the offense because there's been several attacks saying that the president has changed his position, although you can go through the record of him saying they can't have a nuclear weapon. But they cite this report that they gave to Congress on June 10th, and it says that it is estimated that the current stockpile and the available centrifuges across several enrichment plants are sufficient to produce its first 25 kilogram of weapon-grade material in roughly 1 week, and enough for up to 10 nuclear weapons in 3 weeks. So they're saying, look, we've been warning for a while that it was getting this close. This is why we put so much pressure to get a peace deal done.
You know why? Because last night, The Daily Show had Jon Stewart roll back some Netanyahu clips where he says the Iranians were close back to 2010 and 2015. So they're saying, essentially, and so were the president's right-wing critics, what he says the MAGA wing, which he's the head of, say that, well, you know, they always say they were close to enrichment, but they weren't. But IAEA just sanctioned them for the first time in 20 years, saying they've gone flying past the threshold. And for those people who think, well, if the president didn't tear up the deal, they wouldn't have a nuclear program, the deal would have expired. It only lasted 10 years, and those were during the Obama years.
So if you're just waking up, the president left the G7 summit, and he was asked about the ceasefire. And he said Macron is saying, you heard these reports, Macron is saying that President Trump's leaving early to go handle a ceasefire with the two countries. And the president said, no, he is wrong. That's not what's happening. Then the president is calling a meeting with the National Security Council. So what does that tell us? He's wrong. We're not working on a ceasefire. We gave them a shot. We gave them 60 days. Now on day 61, you saw what happened. So it sounds like ceasefire options off the table, unless for some reason maybe Iran comes back, because Pete Hegseth kind of alluded to that we would be willing to sit down and talk. So maybe if they're smart enough to come and do this. But many people have said Iran is so ambitious with nuclear weapons, and they're so arrogant, the Ayatollah and the regime, that they probably won't even do that. They're willing to sacrifice their own people so that Israel doesn't get their hands on nuclear weapons or destroy their nuclear weapons. They can always rebuild as long as they have the ability to enrich.
All I know is the Grand Ayatollah's got to get a new contact list, because many of the people who are his favorite, rapid dial, are dead.
Right.
So I don't know who's going to be there to rescue the regime.
And the people are not in favor of the regime, the majority of the people there.
They don't like it.
And many of them are leaving Tehran. You saw leaving in droves because President Trump said, leave immediately. What does that tell you, too?
That's the
What's about to happen?
If there are demonstrations in the streets, do the cops break it up?
That's right.
Or do the cops disappear?
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.